April in which you said that if the United States was no longer ready to lead countries interested in trade, countries are joining with you in this effort, and whether or not you discussed this effort with President Xi, and he might be interested, or you might be interested in having China join this effort.
Okay. So this is an important question. Let me generalize the question first and then go more specifically, which is what's happening at pace and at scale is that a number of the multilateral relationships, institutions, rules-based systems are being eroded by various decisions of various countries, the United States included. And the consequence of that is that there's a reduction in freer trade. Much more trade is tariff-based or otherwise restricted. And there is virtually no, with all due respect to those who are trying to push it, but virtually no multilateral progress in these areas. Where there is progress, and where Canada and like-minded countries are looking to make progress, is through plurilateral deals, fancy word, economist knows it, which is multiple countries but not all countries. So an example of that is the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Another example of it is the European Union, amongst the European Union, but the European Union with like-minded countries, Canada included. You just saw this week the European Union deal with Mercosur. One of the things we're doing, and one of the things I did discuss with President Xi, is where does it go from here? One of the first steps, and we're on record in advocating this, and we're working to make this happen, is to build a bridge between the European Union and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, Canada is a member of both. I mean, we have a free trade, I should say more specifically, we're part of Trans-Pacific Partnership, but we also have a free trade, comprehensive free trade agreement with the EU, which has just been expanded by the agreement that we signed this past June with them and that we're working through to implement. So we're brokering, helping to broker, bringing that together. There is logic for other countries to join if that initial progress is made, but of course there's contingencies around that. The first has to happen in that. That is, to finish and bring it all together, that is not as good as a multilateral system that works, but it's far better than a system that's splintering into autarky and in the extreme, and that's what we're working towards.
Was there interest from President Xi?
Yes, there is interest from China in expanding their trade relations, including, I mean, they're on public record in wanting to be part of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We take note of that. Our first priority as Canada, and I believe as the Trans-Pacific Partnership, is to make that work. It is working well, but also to explore this opportunity with the EU.
Next question, prochaine question. Kyle.
Kyle Duggan from the Canadian Press. Thank you for taking our questions, Mr. Prime Minister. Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Unifor are reacting strongly against your EV announcement. They say that this is a terrible deal that is giving a toehold into the domestic market for an industry that is heavily state subsidized. So what assurances can you give to unionized workers in Canada in the auto sector? And have you had any conversations with Chinese companies about potential investment or opening factories in Canada?
So thank you for the question. So let's look at the let me just recap the auto agreement and go to the question on prospective investment. The first is order of magnitude. 49,000 vehicles is the cap of this agreement. That's the same amount of vehicles that Canada was importing from China in 2023. Okay, so the same level. Although at that time there wasn't a cap. Now there's a cap, first point. Secondly, to put it in context of the size of the market, that is less than 3% of the 1.8 million vehicle market for cars and trucks in Canada every year. Every year, that's how many cars and trucks that Canadians purchase. Thirdly, what's in the agreement is a commitment, or it's actually a cap within the cap, in terms of affordable vehicles that scales up quite quickly to 50%. So half of that total amount have to be vehicles priced at EVs at less than $35,000. So there's a big affordability focus there. And then the fourth element is an expectation that there will be Chinese investment, partnering with Canadian companies in Canada, and of course an expectation that meet our labor standards to work with that. There is interest of Chinese firms in doing so. That interest is triggered by this agreement, and it creates the possibility within our auto sector, which is very large, very diverse, has a number of players, to have companies that are producing affordable cars in Canada for Canadians and providing the type of technology and expertise that's going to help build a more competitive auto market going forward. The other point, if I just, sorry, Kyle, last point I'd make is that within the agreement as well is a review after 3 years. So we have to see all these elements that come into place.
But how do you know that there's interest?
I do know there's interest because we've had direct conversations directly from the Chinese companies, directly from and companies that are amongst the world leaders and collectively are the world leaders in this space, with explicit interest and intention to partner with Canadian companies. So we have, without question, there is direct interest in that. We'll see what comes to pass. This is an opportunity for Ontario. It's an opportunity for Ontario workers, opportunity for Canada, done in a controlled way with a modest start. This is how, it's interesting. The term you used, you said toehold. It's a trial. It's an early stage, and this is the way you bring somebody into the market. But remember, this is a market that is the auto sector, which is evolving very rapidly. And we want to be competitive in this market. We don't want to be competitive in the market of 2000, 2010. We want to be competitive in the market in the future. That is what's going to get great jobs for Ontarians going forward. So, Mr. Chase.
Good afternoon, Steve Chase, Globe and Mail. It's about Greenland. I want to talk to you or ask you questions about the new economic coercion that Mr. Trump is directing at our next door neighbor, as well as 7 European allies and Britain. He's talking about 10% tariffs until he's allowed to buy Greenland on 8 countries, and they are going to go up to 25% in June. So my question is, how can Canada accept this? What are you going to do about it, including adding to the military presence in Greenland? And what are you going to tell Mr. Trump? What's your message to Mr. Trump about this economic coercion if you meet him in Davos?
Thank you for this very precise questions. It's a serious situation, and we're concerned. We're concerned about this escalation, to be absolutely clear. We always will support sovereignty and territorial integrity of countries wherever their geographic location is. I might add, to bring it to the current discussion today, as part of the discussions the Emir and I had about a series of situations which would have a common element, which is threats to or compromising territorial integrity and sovereignty, Ukraine being a very prominent example. But I'll bring it back now to Greenland. So we will always support that. The future of Greenland, decisions about the future of Greenland are for Greenland and Denmark to decide. And the security of Greenland, security is first and foremost for them, but very much falls within the responsibilities of NATO. I had conversations with the NATO Secretary General in Paris 10 days ago, within the past 2 weeks at least, about how we're going to further enhance that security umbrella. It's something that Canada is working on already and contributing to. When I say working on within the broader Arctic, the so-called western flank and northern flank of NATO. And that's the job of NATO, and that's the responsibility of NATO partners. I have spoken to our European NATO partners, a number of them, Nordic NATO partners. I've spoken to the Prime Minister of Greenland, and there's a full commitment, not surprisingly, as is appropriate, of NATO partners to the security of Greenland. That's the right way to address this security, and the right way, finish and then hand back in terms of whether it's development of critical minerals, is to develop in partnership.
You didn't mention the United States once. I asked you.
All right. Did want